Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk. And welcome to week 4 of the 2024 college football season. Last week we saw quite a few things. We saw a college team put up 87 points. Really? Was that completely necessary? No. There's a reason why South Alabama had to put up 87 points. I get it. You probably bench your first stringers after the first half because they're already up 52-10 at that point. But good grief! At a certain time, you got to tell your players stop scoring. But yeah, we saw a lot of interesting games. You saw the number one team struggle on the road. In the AP poll, they were no longer number one team. We saw Texas have two very good quarterbacks as Ewers went down against UTSA, but Arch Manning said, "Don't worry, dog, I got you," and then putting 4 touchdowns in the air. So a lot of good matchups. In my games last week, I picked 10, and I'm going 4-6. There's a couple of them I picked the wrong winner. So interesting. The Alabama-Wisconsin, I thought this would be a lot closer. Alabama's like, I don't think so. Just straight demolished Wisconsin, 42-10. There was like Milroe had like no questions whatsoever. He counted for 5 touchdowns for the Tide. So it looks like the offense has brushed off some of the dust and issues they had and pressed forward. With LSU and South Carolina, I had a lot more faith in South Carolina. Unfortunately, penalties killed them a lot. That negated some of the penalties I kind of questioned about. There was one, it was the pick 6 that would have won the game for the Gamecocks, and they threw a penalty on South Carolina for like a necessary hit on the quarterback, and that was after an interception. I think it was more of a blindside hit, than anything else, because the quarterback wasn't paying attention and he got knocked over. But, yeah, there were a lot of penalties on that game that South Carolina shot themselves in the foot and allowed LSU to come from behind. I mean, they were trailing at halftime, and they're able to come back and win. They were down, 24-16, and they were able to come back and end up winning that game 36-33. And I picked the Gamecocks for that one. The top 20 clash in Columbia, Missouri, between Boston College and Mizzou lived up to the hype. It was a very close matchup within 2. Mizzou was able to hang on 27-21. In the first clash of former college or conference teammates, state rivals Oregon State. Oregon was just lambasted with this double-digit spread to win. And I'm like, when has Oregon covered that ever? They had that same thing against Idaho and Boise State and can barely beat both of those. I'm like, Oregon State's got this in the bag. I don't know. Oregon came out and bloody played. Gabriel went off, almost 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. It was a butt whooping. They brought a whole truckload of whoop ass and just opened up every single can and drank it. 49-14, Ducks over the Bees. On the opposite side, when it came to Washington and Washington State, I thought Washington was going to mop the floor with them. No, Washington State's like, don't think so. And they came to play and took it to Washington, beating them 24-19. So I picked the wrong Pac-12 member to win. That was the case. We came to Notre Dame and Purdue. I thought Notre Dame was going to bounce back quite easily. I didn't think they would just run up the score the way they did. I mean, they benched Leonard after the first half, after Notre Dame was well ahead of the game. But yeah, that was uncalled for by the Irish. But I think something that was needed. But definitely, you don't need to put up 66 points on Purdue. That's just not needed. The backyard brawl turned to be another very close game. I thought West Virginia had that, and once again, Pitt came from behind to win again. Pitt is shown to be a very resilient team. Came from behind, beat West Virginia 38-34. Back-to-back weeks now they've done this. So the Cardiac Cats, you can call them now, are living up to the hype. Giving me another loss. The 100 miles of hate between Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee. I picked up that W. Indiana, UCLA. I wasn't buying into the Hoosiers hype. Maybe I gave a little more love to the Bruins that I really needed to. UCLA didn't even bother showing up. I don't know. They went to a local high school or something and grabbed some kids to throw on the Bruins uniform. It was like, okay, we're not playing. The Hoosiers just had their way with them. Rourke ended up going 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards passing. Crushed UCLA 42-13. And then between the old rivals of Maryland and Virginia, I didn't think Maryland had it in them. The way to play against Michigan State, I'm like, yeah, this is not the same team. But Edwards had a decent game. Over 260 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Maryland was able to get past Virginia, no problem, 27-13. And that's how it went 4-6. Other key matchups, you saw Toledo going into Mississippi State and beating them 41-17. Once again, another MAC program beating a power school on the road. Last week was Northern Illinois going to South Bend. Now you have Toledo doing it in Starkville. I mean, what's in the waters right now in the MACnation? Now it's time to look at week number 4 once again. 10 games I'll discuss, throw out there for Saturday only. So whenever you decide to watch this video, I will not be talking about any Thursday or Friday matchups. This is all Saturday only, so it's just Saturday showdown. So I will not cover the top 25 matchup between Nebraska and Illinois taking on Friday night. That should be a pretty good one. Now let's start things off out there in Death Valley in the Textile Bowl between NC State and Clemson. Clemson right now still ranked in the top 25. That's because they're Clemson. NC State's 2-1 right now after getting that humiliating loss in Charlotte to Tennessee. See if they can try to bounce back with with a win against Clemson. Right now, Clemson's favored by 20. In times of this video, once again, can Klubnik and Concepcion continue to have that great chemistry together? Right now, Concepcion almost has 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, which over half of Klubnik's touchdown total of 5. So, can NC State hamper that? I doubt it. Look what happened with Tennessee. The defense is not what I think it used to be. I think the Wolfpack will definitely lose this matchup. I don't think 20. I am more inclined to go 17, but I'm a little bit more cautious when it comes to some of these matchups. But I'm definitely taking Clemson to win at home. I head to the Big House where Michigan will take on conference opponent USC. That's right, the Trojans go across the country to take on Big Blue in a key matchup in the Big Ten standings. Which version of Michigan shows up? Once again, this is not the same Michigan team that made that big run to win the national title. All those players are pretty much gone. Different coaching staff. USC right now is doing pretty good. They showed up against LSU in Vegas. Shocked a lot of people, not me. So I think this is another one that they could go in and win. Right now, it's a 5.5 favorite for the Trojans. That's showing a little bit more respect for Michigan. I think Michigan will get better as the time progresses. Unfortunately, taking on USC early might be a hamper for him. We'll see how Moss can do. See if he can get more than just 2 touchdowns. That's be kind of the thing that Michigan has to do, is rely on their defense. Hopefully their defense steps up. Do the bend, don't break philosophy. Okay, let Moss get the yards, but don't let him get the touchdowns. And that's what been kind of hampering the Trojans right now. Can they flip that script and get the next gear? I think they can. 5.5, I like that one. I'm also going with the Trojans on the road. Now it's time to head to the Lou, where Louisville will take on Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech had that letdown against Syracuse the other week after starting off great. And they got another key opponent in Louisville. Right now is undefeated, 2-0. Can King continue to put up the stats? Right now, all the stats points to Georgia Tech. Of course, they have 4 games. That's why. But King's almost up to 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. But I like Louisville in this matchup. I think they have a lot of things pointing towards them to try to get back to the same level they were last year. If they didn't stumble towards the end of the season, there might be a different aspect looking forward. Right now, the Cardinals are favored by 10.5. I'll push back on that. I'll probably put more of a 9-point victory for the Cardinals, but I definitely will take Louisville to win at home. Then we're headed to Lubbock, Texas, with a showdown between Texas Tech and Arizona State in a Big 12 showdown. Now, the reason why I'm picking on this one, because right now no one's looking at Arizona State very, very fondly. And Texas Tech had some struggles in the beginning of the season. I believe they had to go to overtime to beat Abilene Christian. So there's a lot of struggles right there with the Raiders. But Morton putting up some phenomenal numbers. Over 970 yards passing with 10 touchdowns and 2 picks. So he's always seems to be good for a 5-touchdown game. However, he's taking on Arizona State as a team that I think could give him some trouble. They did manhandle Mississippi State, but that's not saying much now since they lost to Toledo at home handedly. But right now it has the Raiders favored by 2.5. Stillwater Bowl can have a good game for the Sun Devils. I mean, he averages 100 yards a game and a touchdown. So that's a good production by running attack. If they could continue that type of momentum, try to get a little bit more out of them, a little bit more running attack, slow the game down to a slow pace, let Arizona State dictate, I have a feeling the Sun Devils are going to squeak past the Red Raiders on Saturday. So I'm taking Arizona State to win on the road. Huge showdown over there in Stillwater as the 12th-ranked Utes come to take on the 14th-ranked Pokies in another key matchup in the Big 12, the new Big 12 matchup. As you have the 4 corners come in and take on what's left of the old Big 12. And both of these programs are doing extremely well. Right now, Utah is just limping along, having some Rising keeps getting injured, but the backup quarterback's doing extremely well, and they've had opponents they didn't really have to worry about too much, but now they do. Oklahoma State is still a very well-coached team. I'm sure Bowman will go out there and have a phenomenal game. In 3 games, he's already had over 900 yards passing, over 960 yards passing. So he's good for 320 yards per game. 8 touchdowns. So he's definitely good for at least 2 touchdowns a game. So definitely got something you got to look at. But the Oklahoma State has to stop the Utes running attack. And Bernard is the leading rusher for him, almost 275 yards on the ground. He doesn't really score a lot. It's can the Utah secondary stop the aerial bombardment the Cowboys going to bestow on them? I don't think so. Oklahoma State's is favored by 2.5. I do believe that's going to be a little bit more. I am also going with Oklahoma State to win at home. In a huge showdown in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex between TCU and SMU, the battle for the Iron Skillet. Another huge rivalry game between these two. Both teams are kind of meh season thus far. They haven't really established themselves. They're supposed to be SMU supposed to have that great win against BYU in that first week, and or second week, I believe it was. Yeah, week 2, and just couldn't do it. And I called that one. Gimme. TCU's had some letdowns as well. But right now, TCU's favored by 3 because of the 1,000 yards Hoover has already thrown in the air in 3 games, as well as 8 touchdowns. But can Smith for the Mustangs muster good rushing attack? I mean, he averages a touchdown a game, and he has 250 yards on the ground. But the thing is, the aerial attack by the Horned Frogs is going to play a huge difference in this one. Right now, TCU's favored by 3. I think it's a good, safe number. I'm also going to go with the Horned Frogs to win on the road. We head back to Oklahoma again. This time we're going to Norman for an SEC showdown. Yeah, it's hard to say, Sooners in the SEC. But the 15th-ranked undefeated Sooners take on 6th-ranked undefeated Volunteers of Tennessee. Both squads are undefeated. Key matchup in SEC play to trying to dwindle down the bottleneck right now the SEC has on the rankings. Because if you look at the top 10, 6 of them are SEC programs. SEC bias, in my opinion. This is the time frame you start seeing the separation of the programs. And I'm not going to try and bother trying to butcher the poor quarterback's name in the Volunteers, but almost 700 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks in 3 games. The running attack led by Sampson, over 350 yards on the ground, 9 touchdowns, and that is the focal point the Sooners have to do. They have to stop the run. They have to stop the run in order to dictate the game themselves, force turnovers, which is going to be a hard thing to do. Everything points towards Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by 7. And something I've noticed about Sooners football is don't count them out. Unless they're playing Texas. Because their favor against Texas, they'll lose. But if Texas favored, they'll win. I have a feeling this might be the case as well. I'm taking the Sooners to win at home. Just to kind of throw the first spur into the SEC wheel with the Sooners coming in. Because you look when A&M and Mizzou came in the SEC, and they kind of dominated that first year because no one expected them, and they never saw them coming. I think this is the same thing that's going to happen with Texas and Oklahoma. When they come in, they're going to surprise a lot of programs in the SEC. I think it's going to be the case here. I'm taking Oklahoma in an upset. Now we head to Minneapolis for a rivalry game between Iowa and Minnesota. Both programs are 2-1 right now, looking to stay on top of the Big Ten. This is their first conference matchup. Brosmer has over 600 yards passing, only 3 touchdowns. So the passing attack by the Gophers is lacking, but the running attack by Johnson and the Hawkeyes, almost 480 yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns. That's what the guy rely on. The guy rely on the Iowa defense. They got let down against the Cyclones in their Cy-Hawk Trophy battle and losing at home. So they're definitely looking to sharpen their claws and carry away some Gophers. Right now, Iowa's favored by 2.5. I like that as well. I almost decided to go with Minnesota, but I'll take Iowa to win in this showdown. Now we're headed to Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Boston College play host to Michigan State. And Michigan State right now is shocking me right now, being 3-0. But, Spartan quarterback I think he's forcing maybe too many throws because he does has 4 picks and he has four touchdowns. So as soon as he makes a touchdown, he throws a pick. But it's all led by the ground attack by Lynch Adams, who's that's over 200 yards, but only 1 touchdown. So it does look like that the Michigan State offense is, able to be stifled. And Boston College did put up a good matchup in Columbia. So they definitely have the offense and defense to stand up to prolific offenses like what Michigan State could produce. And right now, BC is favored by 6.5. I like that number as well. I am going with the Eagles to win at home to try to regain some momentum they might have lost. Then late Saturday night, we head over to Provo, Utah, where the undefeated Cougars play host to 13th-ranked undefeated K-State in a Big 12 showdown. Now, with this one being played out, K-State once again is being favored, and they're overlooking BYU, I think. BYU has a lot of aspects. Retzlaff, over 800 yards passing, 7 TDs with 3 picks. So he's guaranteed at least throw 1 pick in this game. It seems to be his average so far. If you try to not do that, because Roberts is his favorite target, but Roberts yet to find the end zone, so maybe it's time frame for those two to actually celebrate in the end zone together. And things might be overlooked a bit for the case of BYU. And I will take the Cougars once again in an upset win. I did it a couple week 2 when they went into Dallas and took care of SMU. They weren't favored in that matchup either. So I think they like the underdog aspect. I think they'll surprise the Wildcats. I think they'll surprise them enough to squeak out with a victory. Well, there you go. Those are my 10 games. Let me know what you think down below. Which games you wish that I covered or provided my pick for. Which games you're looking forward to. How are you liking the season? Do you think these bigger conferences are going to last? Have you seen the news of the Pac being pretty much being rebirthed again, adding 4 teams from the Mountain West? Who else are they adding? I did a video on that one. Definitely some interesting concepts being tossed out there and other news floating around, especially with Air Force now kind of getting linked towards the American because there's been talks of Tulane going to the Pac. Strange times indeed, once again. Especially for conference realignment is always strange. But let me know what you think about the games. Let's mix it up. When you boost, do the interactions and whatnot, boosts the algorithm, gets the video out to the masses. Another thing you do is hit that thumbs up, especially if you stuck around to the end. Listen to my incoherent rambling sometimes. Really appreciate it. It really helps this channel out. Another thing you can do is subscribe. Now, many of you subscribe. Doesn't cost you a cent. But it means the world to me. What you do is hit that subscribe button, click that bell icon, turn on notifications. Next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.